Please rise to the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who all presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations, so that those that make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom.
Thank you. Okay, Jim, yours.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to today's Divine Session of City Council. There are just a few announcements, so everyone's aware of them. The meeting will start with the work session and the regular session will immediately follow. For this meeting and going forward, in addition to email, public participation will also be by phone. After the work session, once the regular session portion of the meeting starts, council will take phone call presentations from the public. As always, public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Public comments at the start of the regular session are limited to items on the agenda, and public comments at the end of the regular session are on general council business. Thank you. Again, this is the work session, so I'll be reading the agenda, council's agenda. First is the resolution approving the disposition of records from the finance officer as set forth in the municipal records manual. Second is the resolution approving the disposition of records from the city clerk's office as set forth in the municipal records manual. Third is the resolution approving the disposition of records from the code enforcement office as set forth in the municipal records manual. And finally, that's it for those resolutions. We have one item on the mayor's agenda, and that is authorizing the proper city officials to sign any and all necessary documents related to awarding the contract to the most qualified firm for the 2020 street paving project. And payment will be made from the OECD budget. That's the agenda.
Comments from council?
I have a question about the street paving project. Is there a list of streets that go along with that?
Yeah, could we get a list? That's what I was gonna ask too.
I don't believe we have one.
We're in the process of putting a list together.
The mayor just said that they are in the process of putting the list together. I know it's always kind of fluid, I think, depending on funding. Is that correct, Mayor?
That's correct, but also we have to qualify as far as low mod income level.
Correct, depending on how they qualify. And you will get us all this when that's finalized. That'll
Yes, sir.
be forwarded to all of us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Fair enough.
Anything else on the agenda? Okay, do we have any public comments or questions on pending legislation?
The work session still, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Council have it.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to council comments. And we'll start with Mr. Belisco.
Mayor, on this this past restaurant emergency relief fund that's coming to an end, I guess, tomorrow. Do we have any additional businesses that are looking for loans? And if that's the case, what is the additional amounts?
Yeah, Mike, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. We're still receiving applications from restaurants. We received another one today. The cutoff is tomorrow, so the final count I won't have. As of right now, we have 35 restaurants that have been approved, but I'm not going to have a final count until after 4:30 tomorrow afternoon when the cutoff takes place. Then at that time on Monday, we'll start making applications available for the small business loan portion.
Okay. The small business, that's another question. Now, it says in that application that it would be for 1 to 5 employees, I believe. Now, a self-employed person, would they be able to apply?
Yes.
Sole proprietorship.
Yes, they're one employee, Mike.
Okay. So a sole proprietor would be considered one employee.
Sure, let's make an example, a barber or a hairdresser. That's their shop. They would be one employee. They would be eligible.
Okay. I just
Okay.
wanted to clarify that. And that would be subjected to the $7,500 as well?
No, Mike, we have to set the parameters for that. So we never mentioned the 7,500.
No, I know. I'm just assuming.
No, the guidelines will be set up on Monday, but we have to see what money is left over from the first part of this loan project. So we haven't identified 7,500. We'll identify an amount once we see how many restaurants have been approved. And then we'll try to offer as much money as possible to the most amount of businesses. So that's why you'll notice in our press release, we did not put an amount.
Okay. Okay, I can understand that.
Thank you,
I
Mike.
just have two quick questions for Butch. Butch, Monroe Alley, do you still have that on your radar? I do believe, and remember, you're gonna contact me and I'm gonna meet you there. Is Butch in the room?
It is still on our radar, and as soon as
Okay.
I get a heads up from the water company who is gonna work with us on that, I will let you guys know.
Okay, one other thing for Butch, Charles Street in the vicinity of, New Alexander, a lot of potholes just in that area. If you can, next time the guys are out, patching the roads, if you can get them down there, I'd be very happy about that.
Okay, Mike.
Thanks, Butch. That's all for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on, we are getting calls already from the public, apparently for public comment. We can't accept them at this time. We will make an announcement when you can start calling in. Right now, we're not going to answer them, so it'd be best just to wait on that.
Yeah, it's still a work session. It's a work
Yeah,
session.
we're still in the work session, so we haven't even adjourned and gone into the regular meeting yet. Mr. Marconi,
Yeah, I do have a few here. One for Butch. It's 5700 block of North Franklin Street, the hill there, Butch. Grass is getting pretty high. I know it's still a little early, but I was up there and it is getting high. If anyone can take care of that, I appreciate that, sir.
What was that?
Where was that exactly, John?
North Franklin Street, the hill. It's 650 to the 700 block.
Okay,
Also, the building over at the Hollenbach Park, the shingles are coming off. The roof is in bad shape. I don't know. Maybe we can get someone up there to take a look at that building. That's starting to get a little bit in despair.
we actually had the insurance company look at that, and we're still waiting on, there was a challenge to it, actually, to be honest, and we asked them to look at it again, and we're waiting on a response.
Okay, great. I do want to thank you for cutting the grass over there in the dog park. Some people had asked about that, and this one's for the mayor. Do you have any updates, Mayor, on the Washington Street Bridge?
Butch, maybe you could fill us in on that. You've been working on that closely.
The last update I had, John, you and I, we shared when Charlie and I and you and Greg Griffin walked the railroad track. That's where we're at with that.
Okay,
Understand that people at PennDOT and the engineers and designers for that structure are working remotely as we are, and there are always challenges with that. It's just a difficult thing to coordinate. So yes, it's probably going to take a little longer than we had anticipated before this pandemic, but we're getting there. There's progress every day.
And that's one of our priorities, John.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, John. Mrs. Gilbert McBride.
Hi, every issue that I've turned in is being looked at or taken care of. But I did want to thank the mayor and his administration for extending the small business loan programs to other small businesses besides the restaurants. We all know that small businesses and their employees are being hurt the most during this pandemic. So thank you for extending the city's resources to help more small businesses. It's greatly appreciated, and I know they appreciate it as well. In that same vein, I have been giving out various items to people in need in Wilkes-Barre. I started with blue bags, then toiletries, and now I'm moving on to diapers. So far, I've been to pretty much every nook and cranny in the city. As you can imagine, there's a great need everywhere. But I did want to extend the invitation to council. If you know anyone in your prospective districts who need help, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help them.
Okay, thank you. Is that all?
Yep, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Brooks?
Hi there. Just want to also thank Butch and Charlie. Just about every morning I submit 2 to 3 requests and they're always done within the same day, 24 hours at least. I have a comment and then 2 questions. I've recently been approached by 2 constituent organizations in my district, the Diamond City Partnership and the Downtown Residents Association, with their concerns about a permit that was pulled for the demolition of Frank Clark's and Ingle building in conjunction with the Sphere Hotel project at Northampton in Maine. We've reached out to have a meeting with the Sphere people for those organizations. Those 2 groups want to put up money to help save the buildings and have them some way incorporated into the structure, whether it's the facade or saving them completely. And they have a sales agreement with the city that was signed prior to this particular council. Bill, you might remember, where they said they would work with the community in saving the structure. So we have a meeting coming up and I'll just report back when that meeting is over. And then my 2 questions, my questions also to the mayor, is there any update on process for federal and state aid to municipalities that are not COVID related, that are more related to our anticipation of losing tax revenue, particularly the earned income tax revenue that could come on our second quarter? Is there any update and any information you can share with us on that?
Yeah, Councilman, I was one of 15 mayors from the 15 largest cities in the Pennsylvania. We collectively sent a letter to all the state and federal senators and federal congressmen asking for help for third-class cities. Because as you know, the recent CARES Act does not include third-class cities. So we are part of that as Mayor Wilkes-Barre, asking for help. Also, I talked to representatives from Governor Wolf's office as late as yesterday, explaining to them that our needs are financial because of the loss of revenue due to the COVID virus situation. And I stressed that we do need funds to compensate for the loss of revenue. And they're ongoing. We're waiting to see what effect we're going to have. But I'm hoping that because we are part of the 15 largest cities in Pennsylvania, we have a lot more clout now. And the U.S. senators and congressmen, they understand that it's not just one city now, it's the 15 largest cities in the state. So we're part of that, but also a couple times a week, Congressman, we're reaching out to anybody who can ask for help to help pay up the shortfall due to the COVID virus. But I don't have anything concrete to say right now as to who we're contacting and how we're trying to respond by putting requests out there.
Okay. And my second question is, how's the capacity at our local hospitals?
Our local hospitals, believe it or not, Wilkes-Barre City's cases are not as dramatic as, well, naturally as dramatic as Hazleton are. Wilkes-Barre hospitals are not in bad shape. A month and a half ago, they were in bad shape looking for PPE, and I think I've made you aware of the fact that we actually gave out over 1,500 N95 masks to the 3 city hospitals, Geisinger, Wyoming Valley, Geisinger, South Wilkes-Barre, and General. So with that in mind, when the shortage was there, we were able to help out. Now there doesn't seem to be a shortage, so we're all in pretty good shape. So the hospital, I believe, are in good shape. Also, the nursing homes, which people don't realize, they're dealing with this pandemic also. Chief Jay Delaney, Hank Radolsky, director of the health department, called on the 7 nursing homes in the city of Wilkes-Barre offering the same thing, PPE, counseling, anything that we can do to help them. So we're working closely with the hospitals and also the nursing homes. The health department is doing a fantastic job. And they're very closely interlocked with the hospital. So I don't think we really have a major issue right now, Tom.
Okay. And last but not least, I always make a plug for the census. I just hope everyone in Wilkes-Barre fills out the census. It's so important that everybody gets counted, and don't want this to go through the cracks because of COVID. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. The only question I have, and it just came to mind when I was watching the DPW work on the parks, and it's always this time that we take on summer help. Are we going to be able to do anything like that this year, or is that totally off the table?
No, we are going to be able to do that.
We are going to be able to do that
Yes.
and get some help and some relief for the DPW people. I don't know what the time frame is on that. I mean, but that's traditionally right around now or somewhere.
We're getting out.
Yeah,
We are
we're
getting
getting
applications, that's
applications
great.
now,
Okay.
but they'll be utilized wherever they're needed. We do have some issues with, I mean, our DPW folks are doing a great job. They're coming to work and they're dealing with a lot of issues that you wouldn't think they normally have to deal with. And I'll be very honest with you, and I mentioned Councilman Brooks. We're dealing with issues like people are urinating in bottles and putting a lid on it and putting it in the recyclable container so that when our guys put it through the crusher, it explodes and sends urine all over. I mean, these are things these folks don't have to deal with, just like the dirty diapers and the dirty toilet paper. So I'm putting a plea out to the residents. Stop doing that. If we catch you, we will issue a citation. So we're going to be very serious about that. So as far as your question, yeah, we are in the process of taking applications.
That's great. That's wonderful. Okay, anything else for the work session from council? Nope. Okay, we'll take a brief adjournment here and we'll be back with you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Now you're probably gonna want to read your statement.
Still on.
Out the phone.
Okay,
Yeah, I have one.
okay, whenever you're ready.
Ready?
Okay, please rise to the pledge.
I'm gonna set that up.
I pledge allegiance
To the
flag
United
States of
American.
To the republic
To the republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice.
for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations so that they that make the decisions may be guided by your will.
Okay, Mr. Ryan.
Okay, roll call, Mr. Beluska,
Here.
Mr. Marconi,
Here.
Mrs. Gilbert McBride,
Present.
Mr. Brooks,
Here.
and Mr. Barrett.
Here.
Also in attendance tonight is Mayor George C. Brown, Administrator Charles McCormick, Assistant City Attorney Maureen Collins, Deputy Administrator, Director of Operations Butch Frotty, City Attorney Tim Henry, Assistant City Clerk Catherine Payne, and Administrative Assistant Lisa Lippo. Council will now take questions and comments on agenda items from the public calling in on the phone. If you want to start calling in, council will take your questions now regarding only agenda items.
Okay, we'll wait a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can move forward.
Oh, there's one. Now what do you want me to do? Put it on speaker? Hello? Where'd they go? Hello? Okay, see if they call back.
Stand, put on speaker.
I don't know, should I pick it up first and then put it on speaker?
I would,
Further.
yeah, I would.
Probably see him. Hello? Nobody's there. Nobody's
Okay,
there.
let's move on.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go right into the vote. Resolutions. So, since there are only 4 resolutions, today there will be separate votes on each one of them instead of a consent agenda. So the first one is we'll take them in the sequence as listed on the agenda. So the first one would be approving the finance office records disposition. Motion second and vote.
I'll make the
Motion.
Mike, make-
Second.
Okay, Mike and John.
I believe.
Mike?
Mike and John.
Mhm.
Yes.
It was Mr. who seconded.
That was Tony.
Oh, why do we get those two mixed up?
Who is it?
Brooks.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, we can't get the
Every-
distinction.
yeah.
Okay, the vote, Mr. Valesco,
Yes.
Mr. Morricone,
Yes.
Ms. McBride,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
and Mr. Barrett.
Yes,
Motion passes. Second is approving the city clerk's office records disposition. Motion second and vote.
Motion.
Tony,
Second.
John,
John. Mr. Valesco,
Yes.
Mr. Morricone,
Yes.
Mrs. McBride,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
and Mr. Barrett.
yes,
Motion passes. Second is approving the code enforcement office records disposition. Motion second and vote.
Motion.
John,
Okay, that's John. Second,
I'll second. Second.
Mike. Okay, Mr. Valesco,
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mrs. McBride,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
and Mr. Barrett.
yes,
Motion passes. Fourth is authorizing the 2000 paving project, payment to be made from the OECD budget. Motion second and vote.
Motion.
Second.
Is that John?
Tony.
That was
Tony.
Tony.
Tony, okay. All right, Mr.
You
Valesco,
sounded like John.
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mrs. McBride,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
and Mr. Barrett.
yes,
Motion passes also. And finally, we have approval of the minutes of council meetings and the Wyoming Valley Sanitary Authority. Motion second and vote.
motion,
Motion.
Okay, Bill, and second,
Second.
Tony.
we go with John that time,
That time was John.
Okay,
It was John.
yes,
Bill and John. All right, Mr.
Lots of things to
Beluska,
sign when I-
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mrs. McBride,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
and Mr. Barrett. Motion passes also.
okay. Any additional presentations from council members? Mr. Belusco?
Yes, I do have one thing for the mayor. Councilman Brooks brought it up and made me think. As far as the census goes, Mayor, do you get numbers, where we stand in the state, in the county even? on returns, on the census? And are we promoting it at all?
Yeah, Mike, we do not receive any numbers so far. We don't have any idea what we've received so far. We have reached out to different groups within the city asking for their support, Latino groups and other groups, because it's important we get every single vote counted. I should say, number counted.
Absolutely.
But, we've been doing the best we can, but Mike, we do not receive any numbers from the county as far as what they've received so far.
Maybe we can give it some thought to maybe advertise it in the paper or something, so we can, I think it'll come out in the end in our favor if we can get more people to return that and not afraid to fill it out. I think a lot of people are afraid to fill it out. I think more education on it would help a lot.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Marconi?
Yeah, I do. Just one quick thing. I meant to thank also Butch and Charlie earlier. They've been helping me quite a bit as well with my emails and some stuff going on up here in the district, and they've been very aggressive. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Gilbert McBride?
I have nothing further.
Nothing further? Okay, thank you. Mr. Brooks?
Yeah, I just want to add my thanks also to the mayor for expanding the restaurant program to include small businesses. So thank you, Mayor Brown.
You're welcome.
That is so true. And the only thing I have is, as you can see, our office staff has been busy taking care of disposition of outdated records. And I think we have, 75 cases of them or something, or I saw some number like 75,
Much more than that.
much more than that. So that's great and it's wonderful. So thank you for all your hard work there. We certainly appreciate it, Jim and Kathy. And that is all that I have. So now we'll move on to public
Mr.
discussion.
Chairman, since there's trouble with people calling in, do you want me to read out the phone number again?
You can.
Give people a chance to call in.
Yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
should say.
Yes, we are ready for presentations from the public.
Hello? Okay. I'm gonna put you on speaker. Hold on. Okay.
Name and where you're calling from.
State your name and where you're calling from.
Jason Carr, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I have a couple questions tonight. First, Mr. Chairman, if I could pose a question to Jim Ryan and answer when I'm done. Are all city council members required to correspond with each other and constituents through city council email accounts exclusively? As well, are they forbidden to use personal emails when conversing with each other?
Why don't you have 5 minutes and we will answer.
The second question I would have is for Mr. Belesko and Ms. Gilbert. With you taking the healthcare benefit of the city, between the both of you, that is a combined almost $38,000 combined in city healthcare benefits that the taxpayers pay for. Have you considered Medicaid or Obamacare to possibly relieve the taxpayers for that burden that you have put on them? And when you think about it, that's actually probably a full-time salary for someone to clean the filthy streets in Wilkes-Barre. So that's something to consider. For Mayor Brown, I have a couple questions. Is the city entertaining any refinancing of their debt, considering that the Federal Reserve, the lending rate right now is 0.05%? Is that something being considered by the city? Second, the current pension plans, are they currently under the 50% funding threshold, considering the pandemic and the significant downturn the stock market has faced over the last 60 days? Mayor Brown, are you still committed to not, or if sold, are you still committed if you sell the sewer system for not using any of those revenues to fund any budget shortfalls or pension gaps. And also, can you provide or make public on maybe the city website a list of all needed sewer repairs and any associated costs projections for those repairs? As you've said, it's been an urgent matter for the city to repair the sewers. Do you have a list of the sewer repairs and the costs? Does the mayor have any projected budget, or does the mayor see any projected budget shortfalls because of the pandemic for 2020? Has the mayor received any new requests for KOZ designation? And in the future, will you consider any KOZ extensions for further tax abatements? And lastly, according to Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, 40% of all persons earning under $40,000 are now unemployed in the country. That probably comprises a majority of the people unemployed in the city of Wilkes-Barre. How are you helping the common citizen of Wilkes-Barre who is not politically connected? And lastly, my last question would be, there was just a shooting in the last hour, I believe, possibly on Park Ave, from what I'm seeing being reported. There's been other shootings on Blackman Street, Rocco's Garage, I believe another one on McLean Street, where a gentleman was sitting in his home and a bullet grazed his head or came close to while he was sitting in his recliner. How is the city being transparent in letting the citizens know about what crime is transpiring within the community? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, there were numerous questions presented by Mr. Carr. First one had to do with emails, correspondence as to how council members communicate with the public or with each other. I believe you might have also said, Tim, maybe you can just, I don't know if there's any guidelines as to how they correspond with the public. Most of it is done through official city email.
Yeah, but I don't think it's required. I think council members can have communications with residents through other email accounts.
Most of the time it's a phone call, in my experience.
Right.
I call directly. I know all of us have our phone numbers listed on the website, and that seems to be very popular for people to reach out to us that way as well.
I think Mr. Carr's question was, do we have some kind of internal policy about that? And there's no policy that I'm
There's
aware
no
of.
policy. I don't recall seeing one either.
and Mr. Chairman, since that question was directed to me, I'm not aware of anything either, as well as the city attorney.
The question on healthcare as to whether certain members were going to participate in Medicare / Obamacare or alternatives. Anyone care to comment on that?
I'll comment on that. Regarding Obamacare, I don't qualify for Obamacare since my employer, the city, offers health insurance. Like I said before I accepted the city's healthcare plan, I exhausted every possible avenue I could. And the city's healthcare plan was my only option. I checked out Obamacare and I didn't qualify for it.
Okay. Anyone else on that? Refinancing the city's debt. That was a question Mr. Carr had also. I know that we occasionally look at doing that.
Yeah, Mr. Carr, we have had communications with some financial experts. We have looked at meetings with people to determine if this is something that's going to be a benefit to the city. So the best thing I can tell you is that we are in communication with financial experts. As a matter of fact, Mr. McCormick and I just had a meeting yesterday regarding this. So I don't have a finality answer for you. I can say that something we're looking into if it does benefit the city, and naturally, if we see a benefit, we're going to take advantage of that.
Okay, thank you. Anything on council on that? Okay. The status of the city's pension funds as to whether they've gone below the 50% threshold, I'm not aware of I don't have that information.
No, we don't have that information, where we're at as far as what percentage we're at. So I cannot answer exactly what percentage we're at.
Sewer system, as to whether that is still being looked at as far as the sale or proceeds, where they would go.
We have not done anything regarding of the sewer system due to the several issues that we're dealing with, the COVID virus and the damage to City Hall. So that issue has been put on hold for the time being. We'll be resurrecting it once we get back to normalcy with the COVID virus, and also we're working out at satellite offices that are not conducive to having meetings and so forth. So that's on hold right now.
And anticipated budget shortfalls. I know that you alluded to that a few minutes ago when you talked about reaching out to the federal U.S. representatives about assistance.
Yeah, Mr. Carr, we do have a reduction in our mercantile income and tax income and also permit fees, but we have, and you may not have heard this in the prior conversation, we have been in communication, myself and the other 14 major cities in the state of Pennsylvania, with our federal representatives, senators and congressmen, asking for them to include us in the next package for financial relief to help us make up for the loss of revenue. So yes, we do foresee a loss of revenue. We're also hoping that we will be getting help from the federal government and the state government to help make up for that revenue loss. We get reports every day on what's coming into us as far as revenue and so forth, but we also have expenditures. So like running any business, we have to wait to get the final number, but I can't tell you specifically a dollar number that the city is behind yet, but I am saying that we do have a loss of revenue, and we're hoping that we get some relief from the federal and state government.
Thank you, Mayor. New KOZ designation or designations request for, I don't recall.
We have not had any new requests for KOZ designation. None. Everybody is in the same situation, I think, Mr. Carr. They're sort of in limbo right now. We have had folks for several of our projects to get underway, meaning the Sphere International Project, the Sterling Hotel Project, the train station project. But right now, they're not really being very active as far as what's happening on site. So no, to answer your question, no, there has not been any new requests for KOZ designations.
Unemployment in the city, I would imagine, is no different than unemployment anywhere across our country right now. I don't know if you have any specific information on that, but I know it's going up pretty much daily across the state and elsewhere. So I don't have any information as to percentages, but there is assistance out there through the Pennsylvania Unemployment Office, and I know a lot of people are taking advantage of that, especially with the incentive for those that are COVID related. So I know there's assistance out there.
Well, the thing is that unfortunately, and this is not a city issue, it's more of a state issue. The calls I'm getting from our residents are basically, Mayor, I haven't received a unemployment check in several weeks. I've reached out to state representatives asking them to get involved and to make phone calls and try to get our residents' payments, unemployment payments, done as quickly as possible. With the COVID situation, there is an additional up to $600 per week. So I can't say financially, people that are right now being laid off and collecting unemployment, what their financial status is, because there is additional funds being made through the COVID funds that are being paid out. But the issue really is, if they're behind in unemployment payments, they should be caught up where they're made whole for the monies that they're not receiving, along with the regular unemployment and the COVID stipends that are being paid to them.
Right. And I know as part of that, you're also offering assistance to the small businesses, the restaurants, and we were reaching out to those people that were adversely affected
Yeah,
as
well,
well.
we're trying to re-stimulate restaurants first. They can restock the shelves, they can start paying their employees and their rent and so forth. And that's been a very positive program that we started. It's gonna end tomorrow, and then we're gonna start a new part of that, which will be for businesses. You know, people that employ 1 to 5 people, meaning self-employed up to 5 people. That'll be starting on Monday, and I'm hoping that that's going to be received as well as the restaurant relief program.
And lastly, Mr. Carr mentioned about a possible shooting on Park Avenue. I know this police department is very transparent about getting this information out, normally through Facebook and through press releases, and of course, the Crime Watch also disseminates that as well. I don't have any information, and we wouldn't have information on a shooting on Park
That
Avenue.
just happened this afternoon, so the police department does a great job in posting that on their Facebook pages. And I'm sure that that'll be posted, but you have to understand, this just happened this afternoon, and they're still in the investigative part of this process.
Of course.
But Officer Merkel and other officers have done a great job posting the information. So these folks are doing a wonderful job, and they're risking their lives for our citizens. So I can't say how much I appreciate the job they're doing, but yeah, they do post the different information as it comes up. So if you keep an eye on the Police Department Facebook page, Mr. Carr, I think you'll see the information that you'll be seeking.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we'll move on to our next call.
Town manager.
Hmm?
You're on.
Okay, your name and where you're calling from, please.
Alderman.
Okay, good afternoon.
Okay. First thing I want to say, Mr. Marconi, good job bringing up the bridge and the old swim house. Those things need to be taken care of. Yeah, I just, keep on those guys about that. The bridge especially, because it's been out way too long. That old swim house, all that part really really needs some work. And that roof has been, I just did check it out a while ago, and it needs some help. First question, how did you guys use the Office of Economic Community Development money? Like, how are you guys able to use that for the restaurant? And that's all I have for that. And one of my issues, the properties on South Franklin Street, I think it's 448, 440. I complained about them a few times. But like, these properties have been left for years, and now it looks like the porches are falling. So I just want you to kind of have somebody take a look at those porches, because those porches could fall into the street. I mean, I know that I asked for those properties to take, fine, and I know there's been problems with the owner and all that, but those properties have, if those porches fall, they could hit somebody, and that's just that. One last thing I want to hit on is these meetings like this. I think it's good that you guys changed how you're doing it, where we moved into streaming them and everybody locally taking phone calls. But I think at some point, like when the state opens up, I should do some kind of meetings again, like in public. Like, you should still keep taking phone calls and keep people, like, if people don't feel comfortable using the same program like you're using now. But I think that you guys should have at one point, when the state opens back up, you guys should go back to having some kind of meeting. Maybe not in City Hall, maybe outside and open air, just to, be able to have proper social distancing. But I think at some point, when things start opening back up, having a meeting outdoors and have real meetings. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, brought up your bridge, north end. So we know that that's progressing. Question on how do we use OECD money for restaurants and businesses here? You actually get permission to use some of those funds for that particular purpose?
John, that was not OCD. That was
Please hold.
that was enterprise money that was sitting in an account that has not been utilized for over 14 years. We received permission from the Office of Community Economic Development. And we are allowed now to use that citywide. That was designated only for the downtown at one time. And we received permission from the Office of Community Economic Development to go citywide. So that's how we were able to free this money up that's been stagnant for 14 years and open it up to restaurants throughout the city.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. 448 South Franklin Street.
Yeah, that property actually is in bankruptcy. And we don't have the ability to address that right now because it's in the bankruptcy courts.
Which is always a challenge when it's tied up in court.
We have several
Move
properties
forward.
like that, Councilman, that are in that situation, that are tied up in bankruptcy, and we just don't have the ability to go in there and do what we need to do.
We
I
can't.
wish we did.
Can't. And Mr.
If I
Tom,
may, Mr. Chairman.
sure.
Mr. Mayor, is that 448? Is that a double block? Is that one side of a double block?
John, if it's the one I'm thinking of, is it a brick double block you're talking about?
This would be Mike.
That's Mike.
This is Mike.
The white, I think, Michael, they're the two white ones on South Franklin that are in deplorable shape, and the person owns both of them, and he's in bankruptcy. I think
Okay.
that's that John's talking about.
There's another set of double blocks there that the front porch doesn't look too well, and I think the mayor's very familiar with it. When he was a councilman, he was, he dealt with that property, as I am now.
Yeah, Mike, I believe it's the same one we're talking about. That building is in bankruptcy.
Okay,
The ownership of that building is in bankruptcy, and we looked into that. And then when we realized that it was something that we could not address right now, we really, our hands are tied right now.
all right, it's good with me.
And John also mentioned about when meetings return to normal. Well, we are all looking forward to that. So when meetings come back, whatever that may be, whatever normal may be. But in the interim, we're going to continue doing as much as we can to conduct meetings as thorough as we can. Okay. Next call, please. Hi, good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Well, like, the mayor's very familiar with it. When he was a councilman, he was,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
we dealt with that.
It's Angel Mathis, Wilkes-Barre.
Hi, Angel.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I have a few issues, and I want to say the first one, because I got them in last week, because I knew I would forget. But the storm drain, because now that I'm on Beaumont, apparently with the block that I'm on, there's an issue with trash, where the city did come out to actually clean the storm drain, but it's supposed to rain for like 3 days, starting tomorrow. They're starting to become clogged again. So is it possible that they can send them out possibly after it started raining? It starts raining to see exactly how long this rain is going to last. The second thing is the block that I'm on has no lights, and I know I was talking to Mayor Brown about it. Is it possible to actually request a street light be placed on Locker Lane adjacent? And parking permit was being downtown, I didn't require a car. But now my question is, because I know on Madison, you're required to park by permit. However, on Beaumont, you are not required to park by permit. And what I've noticed is when I have company, there's no place for anyone to park, because a lot of residents who live on Madison Street is actually parking on Beaumont, which leaves me without a for my guests to park. And the last issue I have is I'm looking to find out if there's a possibility to see how many times a sidewalk has marked for repair. Because when you actually walk up North Main, the location where I injured myself, the sidewalk is now pretty much risen out of the ground. But one good thing is is that the tree was cut down. So how can I find out how many times that particular sidewalk was marked?
Okay. All right, we're gonna terminate the call and we will take your calls, questions right now.
I thought we were gonna read these answers. anyway.
Okay, he decided to call it.
She didn't call. Okay. Yeah, okay.
First issue she mentioned were the storm drains, the area of Beaumont, Madison.
Yes, we're preparing for some rain, Councilman, and we do have the Wyoming Valley Sanitary Authority committed to come in that area tomorrow at some point, start helping us clean some of the tops of the catch basins.
Okay,
Problem after every rainstorm, happens every time it rains.
and John, you might be familiar with some of these issues as well, so, but she also
Yes.
mentioned about the possibility of a street light on Beaumont Street.
The
There's
street light that
process.
she's referring to, we're gonna send our electrician out. It's not as easy as you might think. Only way to determine whether an additional street light could be put out is physical investigation. There's gotta be a neutral line and a front line. Art, and yes, you can ask, we can a drop for us. It's a timing thing. Beth knows this because Beth asked for street lights and it took months before we get them. We can put them up tomorrow, but PPNL may take a month or two to actually activate them. But we'll start the investigation process tomorrow.
Okay. And parking permits not needed on Beaumont Street, but they are needed on, I don't have any information on that. I don't think anybody here would. But it's something we could ask the traffic committee to look at and see if that is an issue if people are parking there. And that is all because of King's College and student parking. I don't know if that's much of an issue during the summer, so possibly they can look at that and see if that needs to be addressed.
You're right, Bill, that would be.
Okay, thank you. Anything from council on any of those?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Sure. Please.
Hi, Butch, and also Angel. I just want to let you both know I was at the location for the storm drains today, Angel, and also I was checking out that sidewalk. I was gonna get down to the storm drains myself within the next couple of days. There is quite a bit of recyclables on there. I'll be more than happy to clean that up. It only take me about 20 minutes, maybe half hour, but it's going to be a couple days, definitely by Saturday, if that's okay with everybody. And Angel, too, that sidewalk, I saw that it appears that, like you said, it is lifted. It's lifted. I don't know. I'd say maybe 3-4 inches, like you said, and it is marked. I think it's marked for people's safety. But I certainly agree with you that something does need to be done there. Butch, is that okay if I go ahead and just get down there within the next couple of days and get some of that garbage picked up? There shouldn't be a problem with that, right?
Well, Councilman, I would, with all due respect, I would let that up to the public works employees, and I'll make sure it gets done as quickly as possible.
Okay, all right.
That you offer, it's something that we really appreciate, we really do, but it's important that they take their job and get that job done in a timely fashion, and they will.
Okay, all right. I certainly understand. I just, want to give a hand if I could, sir.
I know, I appreciate that. One thing on the sidewalk, I want to make this clear that any sidewalk that is lifted is not the city's responsibility. We don't mark sidewalks. Sidewalks are the property owner's responsibility. It is an ordinance. And that's probably, you did send me the picture I looked at, it's probably what it was, a property owner alerting everyone that a sidewalk has been lifted by a tree. And we have them, thousands of them in the city of Wilkes-Barre, just like that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on that? Okay, move on to our,
Anybody else wants to
no more
call?
calls?
Don't have anybody?
Well, the line is open if anybody
Yeah.
else wants to call.
Yeah, we'll wait a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, for council or the mayor. That phone number is
570-208-4264.
570-208-4264. 4266. While we're waiting, anything else from council? Oh, we're okay there. I'd like to just thank again our IT department. We're greatly adding to their workload, as I'm sure the rest of the city is doing it as well. And Kathy and Jim for getting all of this together and for you handling the phones. And I think Mira would like to make a couple comments.
Yeah, just for the council members, I'd like you to know that as of Monday, we are aggressively addressing graffiti in the city of Wilkes-Barre. We have covered up graffiti in the Richmond Tunnel, Mike, in your district. We're going to be addressing a lot of the other buildings that we see graffiti. We'll be notifying the owner of the building that it's their position to take care of the graffiti. If they don't, we'll do it, and then we'll make the appropriate condition that has to be compensated for. But just so you know, we have a task force. We're a committee of people that are going out every day looking at graffiti in the city, looking at buildings, looking at stop signs that have been, anything like that. We have this task force going out every day, and they're reporting back to City Administrator McCormick and Mr. Frady. And we're taking care of those things because we want to clean this up. It's the time to do it. And just to let you know, if you have anything you want to report to us, please let us know. But the people that are going out every day are doing a great job in identifying it. And already we're seeing some results.
What is the best way for somebody to report it? By calling your office directly? Call your office directly. Okay.
We have somebody on the line.
And we have a call waiting. Hi, good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Steve McCarthy from The Voice.
Hello, Steve. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling to see if the mayor can provide any update on the City Hall roof.
Is that all you have, Steve? Or any other questions? Okay, fine. All right, we're going to end that call and the mayor can give an update on that if you wish. City Hall roof, Mayor.
Shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Steve, thanks for calling in. Yes, the roof, it seemed like it turned into much more of a problem than we thought it was going to be. We are totally redoing the roof. It's going to be a cost of approximately $500,000 to repair it. Besides that, there's been damage to the fourth floor, which encompasses my office, my assistant's office, city administrator McCormick's office, city council's area, city clerk's offices in the hallway. So what we're doing now is we have people going in there while we're working on the roof. We're also working on the fourth floor. We also found that the flooring was damaged, and unfortunately there is asbestos in the flooring. So we have to hire a contractor to come in and actually remove that asbestos with the credentials in the proper way. We'll be doing that shortly and also installing a new floor. Also, the scaffolding surrounding the building, that will be taken down when they're finished working on the roof. That's going to be about a 2-day project, just scaffolding down. We want to make sure that it's done safely and no one is injured doing that. So, Steve, to answer your question, it's turned into a much larger project than we thought, just the roof. It's the roof now, it's the fourth floor offices, it's the floor, the walls, the ceilings, and also, these other things we talked about, meaning taking care of the asbestos flooring and so forth. So I can't give you a timeline yet, but I do know that they're continuing to work on the roof and continue to do that next week.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Anything on council on that? Okay, are there any other calls, Ken? Okay.
The line is open. Let's wait another 30 seconds or so.
All right, we're gonna hold for about a minute.
28, 29, 30.
And again, thank you to everyone.
So, Chairman, our next
Sir.
meeting is gonna be the 28th in a combined session?
Yes. Yes, same
Same
format,
time.
4 o'clock, same format. And Mayor, the reason we're doing 4 o'clock is just to try and minimize the amount of time that everyone has to be together. It's at the end of the work, pretty much at the end of everyone's work day, rather than getting everybody back in here later. We just thought it would be best. We'd have to have our IT people obviously here and our own staff and everyone else. So yes, Mike, in 2 weeks, 4 o'clock. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.